All right, welcome back to the program. Joining me right now is my guest, Dr. Tope Fasua, who is the Chief Executive Officer at Global Analytics. He's an economist. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much and good morning,
Good
Nancy.
morning. Now, let's get started. Today's topic, we're looking at social protection as well as social interventions. That's understanding what social investment, social protection, and social, what's the other word again? Social intervention schemes
Yeah.
in Nigeria, because in the past few days or since this president came on board, and we've been hearing palliatives, just last week palliatives. So what this show is about is really to understand that scheme. Take a look at also how other countries have implemented their social intervention or social investment programs. But I will want us to start from the premise of, what do you really understand when a country says that I want to embark on a social intervention program, or I want to embark on a social investment program, or I want to embark on a social protection program? Are those three the same things? Are those three
Well,
words the same things?
basically they're almost the same, really, because eventually when a country is forced to have to do that, um, that means that there's an extant problem that needs to be dealt with among the most vulnerable in the country. Now, every country has vulnerable people, without a doubt. Though some are a lot better than others. For example, maybe countries in Western Europe, Scandinavian countries have managed, and they will call them social capitalists, right? That's what they are. So they've managed to ensure that, look, they focus on people, people, people. So whereas you see people sleeping on the streets in some of them, and people going to dire straits, but they are really not very significant. And in fact, many people are doing that by choice. That's the truth. That's those places where, like in Norway, they don't even have prisons anymore. They are closing down their prisons. Okay, and the prisons that they have are more like resorts where prisoners can walk out and walk back in anytime they want. So, however, that also is a model for the rest of the world, especially even countries like the US, where they're still incarcerating so many people, and there are a lot of poor people in the US, and people are sleeping on the streets. And when you go to what they call the poverty belt in the south of the US, what they call you see conditions like some bad places of Ajegule in the United States. Usually, unfortunately, it's black people that you would find there mostly. So that's so when a country says they want to do that. For example, the U.S. in 2022 enacted what they call the Inflation Reduction Act.
Yeah.
And when I was coming to this show, I realized that I had written on this before. I lighten it for the public, as is my own duty, which I've taken upon myself. And in that Inflation Reduction Act, what they tried to do in the U.S. was, funny enough, they call it Inflation Reduction Act,
Yeah.
right? Which is like a moniker. That's the name that goes with it. But in actual fact, it's a plan for resuscitating the entire economy.
Yeah.
And in resuscitating the economy, and reducing deficit, they also target reducing inflation. So, I mean, they plan 15% minimum tax on large companies, and by that they were going to raise about 222 billion. And then, of course, they also plan to raise $265 billion from prescription drugs. So that one is targeted at the pharmaceutical company, and they have them Pfizer and Co. in the US, but in targeting that, they intend to divert the money to Affordable Care Act. That's the Obama Care, to enable more people to have access to care. And also, a lot of that money was going to be targeted at energy, the energy crisis. Listen to some of what they say they want to do, which now answers your question in terms of what exactly should it mean. So first of all, of course, they've been talking about climate action. So climate is one of it, clean energy, electricity, to modernize their electricity grid, to provide more energy for people, to build electric vehicles, to assist in the building of electric vehicle chargers, okay, to strengthen battery supply chain, to expand public transit and passenger rail, okay, transit, all right, to invest in new clean energy and emissions reduction, to improve resilience in physical and natural systems, to clean up pollution in communities, okay, to create high quality jobs, including union jobs. They're talking about private sector work alone, right? Including union jobs with good benefits and supportive services that build pathways for the middle class. to raise $737 billion and spend $437 billion, thereby lowering deficit by $300 billion, to enable Medicare and all of that, to lower inflation, invest in energy. So I think that what we need to be doing, which I've actually been trying to get our government to see, through my writings. In fact, the last for about 3 weeks, I devoted my writing to how else do we reduce inflation, for example. And in reducing inflation, that means, okay, what are we going to be spending for our people? The government hasn't started, actually. Unfortunately,
sorry?
we've seen...
The government?
No, they haven't started
No,
in the area of social security, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
And the so-called palliative they want to do. We see
No,
a
but hold
scenario
on.
where
Okay,
we
okay,
fronted.
you know
One
what?
second.
No, Dr. Fasua,
yeah.
1 second, let me ask this, as you have just said this. You said the government hasn't started in terms of social...
Yeah, they haven't actually started the
yes.
real program.
Isn't it a misnomer also for this government to start on the premise of bringing out 2 bold steps, killing 2 elephants in the room,
yes.
killing 2 elephants in the room at the same time,
Right,
and not coming out with a commensurate impact reduction plan?
Exactly,
Yes,
you're right.
because
and inflation management plan is what got me here. Impact reduction in general, of course, the real problem is inflation, how it comes hitting people from several areas. And of course, this morning we're hearing that NNPC has increased fuel price to 617, even though someone said they bought at 568 now, somewhere in Abuja. But you see, yes, you are very right. I was of the opinion initially that what we should do is, if we're going to deregulate the fuel sector, the fuel market, we should hold on the devaluation of the naira and let this one sink for a while. However, I'm not in that driver's seat, you know what I'm saying. So for some reason, and I did also write, that look, we need to move the president from the claws of neoliberal economists who seem to have gotten the lay of the land, more into what he actually espouses, which is center-left, a little bit to the left, and thinking about people. This is a president that says...
should it be a little bit of welfare,
a president that says, the poor must be allowed to breathe. Let the poor breathe. Now, that's a deep statement. However, on the ground, what we're seeing is something that needs to be quickly rescued. So like I said, look at what the United States has done for their own people, in spite of the fact that per capita income there is close to $50,000 per person. And here we are, $2,000 per capita income. And we cannot be rolling out these things. However, sometimes when you now do this policy, my biggest fear was, especially when you say you want to unify the currency, and all you've done is just allow the official to be chasing the black market. What are we talking about? That's, but again, the team hasn't been fully, constituted so that we can have ideas from rivals, like about Abraham Lincoln's cabinet, a team of rivals. Have people thinking from the left, have those thinking from the right, and let these guys come together and come out with huge debates that can take us in a certain direction. However, what is up right now is that the people must be rescued. Okay, the government wanted to do the 8,000 naira per family per month thing. I understand it's been stepped down. Well, I understand it's been stepped down. I saw it on the internet yesterday. Maybe, but I'm not sure there's any policy to that effect. I also felt that was going to be a bit inefficient. Okay, and I suggested that why don't we do again, example from the United States, why don't we do something like a food program instead, where we're targeting farmers, patronizing our farmers like they do in the United States. Here they call it the United States Agricultural Marketing Service Food Purchase and Distribution Program, which they've been doing since forever. And they've been buying goods worth $1.2 billion in some years, $2.3 billion in some years from their farmers, in which case we can target the post-harvest losses that happen across the country.
That's subsidy for their farmers. I hope you know that.
Well, of course.
Because
the US, but you know that the World Bank and
Co. a lot of agricultural subsidies.
The World Bank and Co. that advise them, that advise us here, they are resident in this country. They never tell us to do things like this. They tell us to come and give our people cash, which if you give the heads of a house, a man, if you give him 8,000 in a month, he can spend it on cigarettes, can use it to do betting, or can take it to the beer parlor and finish it in 30 minutes.
Now,
Is that what we need to be spending money on at this moment, or we need to be doing something much more comprehensive? And this is my latest article on that, and I listed what we could get from having a food program like they have in the US, with evidence of what they've done in the US. You know,
Okay.
so that would be direct cash assistance to the farmers, direct money you're buying from them, so they have a ready market. If you went to places like Benue State, every year billions of naira worth of oranges and mangoes wasted in that place, and people are in this country suffering malnutrition. Our children who can't afford ordinary oranges, the government takes it off them, distributes to the rest of the country. You know, in places like Kwara, Kogi, cashew fruits, not only the nuts that get wasted. Even in the southwest of Nigeria, all sorts of fruits.
Take that money,
you know,
and embark on a food program.
That is what we need to do now, and in which way we're going to be, you know, kind of going back to our rural areas and opening them up. And of course, the government has declared a certain food security emergency. This dovetails directly into it. So there's no way we should just be spending that money. Let us use it to reboot our system. And you know what I said earlier? I said the government hasn't started. Go to NSITF, Nigeria Social Insurance Trust Fund. There's trillions sitting in that place, which companies contribute every year. And all you hear about the NSITF is, you know, somebody has taken 50 billion and run away. Almost all the MDs for the past 6, 7, 8 MDs have been removed on corruption, on one fraud or the other, or scandal. Because the money is there. They tell you that all they do with the money is assist people who have accidents on the job.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you take money from me. I don't run a factory. Nobody has ever had accident in my office on the job. You know what I'm saying? So it's a slush fund. This is the time for us to be moving in that area. And if you look at what the United States has done with this inflation reduction, you'll see that it's multi-sectoral.
Okay.
They're talking of the pharmaceutical industry, the health industry, the energy industry, the car industry, and so on.
Let me come
So we haven't actually started
and
thinking,
try,
and I believe we will soon.
You talk about the NSITF, and in fact, I wanted to say it.
Not only NSITF, Nancy,
all of them.
NHIS,
yes.
go there and look at how
know.
much funds is sitting there right now. What can we deploy it for?
Because that's also for social protection.
UBE, they cannot just be telling us that they are keeping money. States are not coming to collect it. They are keeping those monies in the banks. Now is the time that you have to think deeply and say, where do we have surplus funds and where can we get? Because listen, the people must be assisted. We cannot continue like this. Listen, the electric people are waiting. 40% increase. You can't barrage the people. But let me tell you, the job of a president is tough. Many times, look, I mean, from meeting to meeting, so many people pursuing you, traveling everywhere, you may not be able to think. Now is the time for those who supported President Tinubu to step out and assist him. A lot of people are looking for appointments. It's not about appointments. You can't be serving an appointment in a government that may miss his way. Now is the time for us to step out and say, listen, this is not panning out the way we... Listen, it's supposed to be a government of renewed hope. So where is the hope? If we are... Look at what these guys are doing. You know, now that we thought that, okay, let us keep Naira where it is, but every time the Naira devalues, are we going to be increasing the fuel price?
That's exactly what I said earlier.
Because it cannot work like that.
But that's how it's going to be, because...
So, okay, you know, mind you that the government...
all price will go
up. Do you know that the government...
All price going up.
As per the manifesto, the government promised a stronger Naira.
I know that. I saw that. And
so why are we talking of a much
GDP
weaker
growth
Naira?
of double digits. 6% ball, they can start.
So again, look at,
now,
I've made some suggestions here about where we can get money from. The point is, look, this is the time to kind of soften some of the fences around some of those funds where they're sitting. You can't say you're NHIS, you are keeping sludge funds somewhere because people are contributing and the government cannot access it. The government has to call them to the table and say, guys, what are we doing with this money?
Okay, now
can we make the lives of our people easier by that?
You've given me an example mostly of the United States. Ernest Donable, which is Ghana, came up with a program called Livelihood Empowerment Against Poverty at LEAP in 2013 when the country deregulated fuel. There's also what they call Bolsa Familia in Brazil.
Yeah, Brazil.
The Philippines also did a social protection program. Indonesia also did a social protection program. Now, my question is, you raised the United States. Isn't it more significant or more important for Nigeria as the poverty capital of the world, perhaps to deepen its social intervention program or social protection or whatever you want to call it, to be able to assist the poor. That's one.
Absolutely.
Then
So where are the poor?
secondly, can those social intervention programs, can they really lift the extreme poor people out of extreme poverty?
The point is, how are you going to target them specific? In China, which I also, now the reason why I'm quoting US, listen, I mean, US is meant to be the most capitalist country in the world, and people will come here and tell us all sorts about how to jettison all the subsidies and throw our people under the bus of market forces. Market is the most efficient allocator of resources are here. In a country like this, we can begin to see now the foolhardiness of those ideas. And the people who are pushing this are people who have millions of dollars saved up in USD currency, most of them outside the country, who don't care about the people of this country. But forgetting that in order for us to get that double-digit growth rate, we have to go back to the people and make the people, first of all, healthy, with food in their tummy, and therefore productive. The only way we can get those double digits growth is if we get more of our people to be productive, reduce that unemployment 33% or whatever number it is right now, and get our people working. That's the only way we can do that. Forget all these things about foreign direct investment. Right now they're targeting foreign portfolio investment. They're talking about the stock market. How many poor people are invested in the stock market? For how long? And we know what we suffered in the hands of foreign portfolio investors. The moment there's a downturn, all of those guys shift en masse in one fell swoop. You know, so listen, we can't do this to ourselves. Some of us are economic historians. We've seen this happen over and over again. We won't allow it this time.
Now,
you know,
okay.
so I mentioned that in China, in order for what they've done, but they have what they call the poverty eradication, targeted poverty eradication program. And I've seen Xi Jinping, the president, sometimes we go to the villages, hop in the hills, some of the kind of hills we don't have in this part. If we sit with them, we will get to know. And so what they've done is they've documented each household. If Nigeria says it has a social register, we don't know when they documented each household. When they document each household in China, they will be able to tell you that this household has a problem with disease, this one with skills, this one's with jobs. So when they're sending people from the secretariat to go and help those people, they are sending targeted help to them. The one that needs to get their children into school, the one that needs medicine, the one that needs a job right now, the one that needs food. All right? Food is basic to most people anyway, for as long as you can assist. But do you know that even in China, when I read on that and I was writing an article that, listen, anyway, this is what I do. You know, I realized that even the officials were cheating some of the poor people, such that a few of them have had to be taken to the firing squad for cheating the poor people. When you say, go and give them this one, you decide to divert it. So when did the Ministry of Humanitarian Resources under Buhari collate the data of the poor people in this country? Why can they not make that data available such that people can go there and check whether their names are there, whether the people that they have listed to social addresses are there? Why are they not being transparent? If you want to do something right, and in this age of social media, in this age of smartphones, in this age where every human being is AIT, everybody is broadcasting on their own, the best thing you can do for yourself is make your data transparent and confirmable.
According to NASCO, that's the office that the social safety, I had to look up on their website this morning to see if I could get anything updated. But what I saw was the poor and vulnerable household stands at 12,828,135 and 52,838,729 individuals in 128,249 communities in 737 local government areas, according to
Honestly,
them, in 8,000 words. That's what they listed there.
Nancy, that is fiction. It's pure fiction.
Why is it fiction?
Pure
Are you saying we have more people, or you don't believe in this data?
We don't even, I mean, when we finished an election, a keenly contested election where some people are even still trying to pull the election apart, we were able to record only 25.2 million, 25.2 million, which was less than what we had in 1993, 25.4 million. Meaning that Nigeria's population, it did drop over 30 years. However, in 2003, we had 42 million in the same election, 2003, when the stakes are not this high, the youths are not this many, the issues are not this many. So if someone to tell me, I said the only thing that may have happened is that technology is finding us out. You can complain all of what you want to complain about, the election and the issues, but the point is that technology is reducing that number. Fraud and manipulation were reduced to a certain extent, meaning that I said I challenge Nigeria's population. If we do this food program that I'm mentioning here, you know, we can use it to collate better details, and even we can piggyback this food policy, we can piggyback this food program on the back of the census that they want to do. So that let people come out, oh, you want food, how many people are in your yard? You can say, oh, inside my place where you can't enter, I have 500 human beings there. And that is how we got here with all of these numbers. When did Nigeria, whoever, NASCO or whatever, when did they collect this number? You can't just sit down and write numbers for Nigerians. We are not even up to 200 million. Let's not deceive ourselves. If we can count this country, the people in this country properly, we would hardly find 120 million. And because of people, governments have used that over time to be collecting aids from different places. We've now turned to beggars. And at the end of the day, we can't even think for ourselves. And now people are pushing all sorts of funny policies down our throats. I understand that even the World Bank is part of the people pushing this idea that we should go and spend cash to our people, because you must use whatever loans they are giving you for what exactly they want you to use it for. And we don't want that money for cash distribution right now.
President Tinubu to go about a kind of social welfare program. You've canvassed, hold on, you've canvassed that cash shouldn't be given, it should be a food program from you. So how should a President Tinubu embark on a social intervention program? And we're saying Nigerians are suffering from what I call policy or reform overdose at the same time.
Invariably.
PMS subsidy removal, FX unification, high prices of food, fuel price going up every day, and all of that. So it's an overdose. We are being hit left, right, and center. Even if you're a big man, I used to say it. Now, the school of thought then was that fuel subsidy affects the rich, but it doesn't affect the poor. That was then. But now, it's only the rich that can afford fuel. So I don't know the economics or the economics like your rich people that were confusing Nigerians.
Labour says come and increase our salary to 200,000 minimum wage, meaning that the cleaner in the office wants to get 200,000. If you want to, that means that you know, a middle manager will get maybe 3 million every month. Imagine that madness on the economy. And then, okay, how does the private sector follow suit? How many of us who are running our little companies can afford to pay cleaner 200,000 naira? It's madness. So whatever it is you're going to do on that level, be sure that can the informal sector, even our artisans that will work for you, and they say, you ask them how much is your money, they say, okay, anything you like, give me. How are we protecting those people who say, anything you have, give me? We don't care about them, but
so
they're part of the economy. So the
answer my question on how should a Tinubu
now we need a big meeting. Unfortunately, they have fronted the bad news. Now is the time for us to rush in with the good news. They need big meetings. Look, I'm not interested. I'm not sure the governors, there's the Toledo committee and which other governor is there that they are supposed to. This is beyond politicians. Now is the time to convene big meetings, and all we want to hear in that meeting is what are the ideas we can put, where can we find money to finance it. I've mentioned to you, go to NSITF, get money there. UB is sitting on money. You know, look at other places in there. Maybe Third Fund is sitting on money. That's just educational sector. All the sectors, all those parastatals that will sit on money and say they're doing it for what? Now is the time. If MPA has money, if NIMASA has money, let's put this money down. Because look, the country is teetering. It's teetering right now. We don't want another EndSARS on our hands. We don't even want January 2012 like what happened under Jonathan. We've pushed the people enough. People are suffering. The depression on the road, on the streets now, people are depressed. People are ready to fight. We don't want that. This is not what we promised. A new government should come with the good news. Fine, if you want to take, you've taken a few decisions to show that we can take those decisions, but the point now is this, that, okay, having taken the decision, there has to be a human factor, a human face to what we're talking about. So what do we do now? And we have the money. So listen, you know what? If we sit and look at this one that the United States did, you'll be shocked at everything they're looking at. They call it Inflation Reduction, U.S. Inflation Reduction Act 2022. We're not talking of 10 years ago. It's what is going on right now, okay? And you can see what they're talking about. They're talking of energy, electricity, batteries. They're talking of They're talking of public transit, passenger rail. You know, these are the things we need to be spending on. But the first thing, in my view, for you to take out the pangs, to take out the edge from this hunger, let's do a food program. It's much better than a cash program, okay? Let's assist our poor.
The insecurity factor, because structural problems have also been affecting food challenges. You take a look at, you see the way CBN has been fighting inflation for the past 2 years. Anytime it increases rate, inflation goes higher. MPC will be next week. I think so.
So it's
CBN has not been able, is not getting it.
Monetary policy, as we've used all our monetary policy bullets. That's the thing. Forget it, man. You know, we knew it a long while ago that monetary policy was not going to work anymore. So we have to look at the supply side. The central bank has done enough. You know, I mean, they probably they overreached themselves. We know what the consequences are. Everybody is blaming MFLA. The man is cooling his heels somewhere. You know, it's not everything they did that was bad. They struggled. When the fiscal sector was not kicking in, the central bank picked up the pieces. But the point is, of course, when all is said and done, somebody carries the can. That's what we are right now. The previous government failed itself and failed in Nigeria. The first thing is we must not continue with any kind of policy that looks like, reminds us of that era. That reminds us of that era. This US, they are allocating 80 billion for IRS tax enforcement. Have we heard about that? We're not talking about increases in tax. Don't increase taxes. Nigerians have had enough of taxes. But those who can, are they paying? Those who can, who are making, in this same country, people are making money. We're talking of fuel price increase, and guys are making money in the crude oil sector, in the midstream, upstream, downstream sector. Guys are cleaning out, you know. Are they paying the much they should pay so that we can assist the poor people? Because you see, we shouldn't forget that the biggest asset of Nigeria are the people.
Okay.
A few people, but we must continue to invest in the people. We can't just keep sucking them dry.
Last question, because I'm looking at our meeting and we have about 3 minutes or so to go. Last question, there are also, among the poor people, there are also vulnerable groups. It's women bear the brunt of poverty. Women are normally the face of poverty in any country. Women, children, and perhaps even the physically displaced. We have IDPs amongst us.
Physically
then physically challenged people. How should social interventions also take those people?
So you know what?
Into
I think that, for example,
that's why I asked earlier, how should a Tinubu's human face look like?
That is where you are going to get the real data.
You've talked about take off this thing, guys. Subsidy is gone. Should we all go to hell? We can't go to hell because all of us are living in hell right now.
Almost.
Yes, almost everybody. Do you understand? Because people are suffering.
It's about data. You're talking about data. So listen, you know what? People living with disabilities in this country, they have associations that we can reach. It's not all of them that are poor, though. Not all of them. Some of them are doing very well. Some of them have been absorbed into employment in different places. Some of them are entrepreneurs. But vulnerability, you see there. Children. So children, you may not be able to start giving children things on the streets. We are supposed to have 10 million children roaming the streets, you know, out of school and all of that, north and south of the country. You know, this is a good sign. Do you know one thing? As bad as things are, this is seeming to me like, you know, it's always darkest before daybreak. It's seeming to me that if we take this opportunity, never, like they say, never let a crisis go to waste. If we ensure that this crisis doesn't go to waste, boom, we may be hitting, you know, some sort of jackpot in terms of development for this country. But now is the time to stop. If I don't want to hear one additional policy of something market forces, everybody should go to blazes. These neoliberal guys, I'm not a neoliberal. We're going to go after them.
But
honestly,
amongst students like economics,
it's true. You know what I'm saying?
different.
Yeah, no. I will never agree with them because look, you talk about market sanctity, but the thing is this: market failures have been documented. 3 people, George Akerlof, Michael Spence, and Stiglitz, they got a Nobel Prize in 2001 based on the failure of market. They say that information asymmetry. You know that people are going to be in the market who know much more about what's going on than the rest. They will just come and sell you a dummy and all of that stuff. So, hey, this is the time for us where I think that we can make something of this. But now is the time to have a multi-sectoral debate and putting everything on the table to help our people. The next 3 policies we want to hear are goodies for the people. Goodies from transport, goodies from food, goodies from salaries, goodies from jobs, goodies from money. And I think we can do that.
Okay, 30 seconds. Should the homeschool feeding program still continue? Then what you're seeing that some states are doing, I think Kwara State and those states, which other states? Some are saying, okay, they've increased minimum wage to 40,000. Some have brought out buses for their citizens in the states.
And some said their citizens should not come to work.
Yes,
which is a reduction in productivity if you can't actually get them to really farm. Now is not the time. In the trajectory of our development as an economy, now is not the time to sit at home and be watching Nollywood if you can find money to buy fuel in your generator. Now is the time for us to work.
Is not especially bad. That is one industry that is also bringing
not too
money.
Bad. Okay, fine. Why not the
entertainment industry is bringing in dollars.
This is the time for us to work, and I think there's work to be done in this country. So so there's a lot that we can do for our people.
Should the homegrown school feeding program continue? Because in the administration, we were told that they feed 5.5 million.
When I was running for presidency in 2019, I was in some places in Zamfara and Katsina State, and I realized that many mothers will just send their children with bowls to those schools to take the money, to take the food and come back home. Listen, you can replace that with the food program. Raw food is what we're talking about here, where we can even target nutrition. Government can target a balanced diet. We are not just giving you rice or giving you corn. We are giving you some corn, some oranges, and some beans. Or even if they can intervene with, there are so many cattle in this country. We're actually the largest producer of livestock in Africa.
Okay, I think we'll leave it
so
we
can take a bit of that. We can begin to actually
we can go on and on.
Yeah, we can reintegrate our local
Dr.
economy.
Fasua, both of us can go on and on, but we've got to go now.
And that is where the next growth for this economy is, the rural areas, and now is our opportunity. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much too. for your contribution. We can go on and on. Perhaps off camera we'll go on and on. All right, that's the much we can take on today's edition of the program. What this has really exposed to me is that we can't leave it here, because we've got to continue to interrogate the social intervention schemes in Nigeria. Be the best you can be, but the change you want to see. Dr. Tope, Fasua, and Economics, and Chief Executive Officer Global Analytics have joined me at least in the last few minutes to talk about that. I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye now.